Yo, back on another review for Path of Exile 2 this time. I'm about 30 hours in. That might be a lot, but I think about 30 hours in. You can't check on console. I'm like halfway through Act 2. I've done everything in Act 1. Uh Little review for what I think about the game. I think Path of Exile 2, I think it is a perfect ARPG. And when I mean perfect, I don't mean it doesn't have any flaws. What I mean by is Path of Exile 2 is a game that what they delivered is a full package. For instance, like if you would ask me, is Elden Ring a perfect game? I would say yes. But when Elden Ring came out, was it perfect? No. A perfect game is what, in my opinion, is what they release. What did it live up to expectations? Yes, I was. I'm not disappointed. I don't think anybody's disappointed with PoE 2. Who's looking forward to it? That's basically, at least my. It's not really my definition because perfect means no flaws. But I do think it is. They delivered on everything they promised. Nothing really falls short. It's way more player friendly than they even said. They didn't. It's way more player friendly than they even let on. It's super player friendly. The game doesn't fault you for your mistakes of not knowing the game because I don't know. It's going into POE one is like going into a maze blind, and then every step you take, you can't turn around. So if you go to a dead end on a maze and you can't turn around, well, you just stuck there. You got no choice but to get off or restart the maze, and that's how POE one is. But POE two is still a maze, but now you can just go through the maze. If you go to a dead end, you can just turn around. You don't have to start over. You can turn around and take a different angle, or you could, look on top of the maze. But it's so much more player friendly. Is PoE two difficult? No, I don't think PoE two is difficult. I think people who, a game like Elden Ring, a lot of people were saying Elden Ring is difficult when it first dropped. I don't think PoE two. It's the same thing with PoE two. It's not really difficult. It's only as hard as you make it. I mean, there's been times in PoE where I said, "Hey, I'll just come back to this boss." But like when I'm fighting a boss in PoE, I know if I'm too weak to be fighting it, and sometimes I just do it because it's fun. But there's been plenty of times where I'm in the zone and I just said, "Hey, I'll just come back," because I'm not even supposed to be here. My monster level is the same thing as me, or the monster level is higher. But PoE two is not hard. It's a game that's supposed to reward you for your build. So if monsters are all dying to any build, or dying to any skill or any player level, well then that's defeats the purpose of actually having a build and a skill tree. Because at that point you would just put any point on the skill tree. You would just use any skill. You wouldn't read anything. But no, like if you actually focus in on what skills do and how to use certain support gems, certain mix of for instance, like firewall and spark is what I use, and like it's super easy when I use firewall and spark. Yeah, there's been only like the only time I really have a hard time in PoE is the bosses. Other than the bosses, it's not really that hard, and bosses should be difficult. And like I wouldn't even say the bosses are hard. I would just say like most of the time if I'm not focused on a boss, then it's difficult. But as soon as I like focus, it's pretty easy. But also for people who say PoE two is hard, I don't think they got that far in PoE one. PoE one is fucking hard. Like it's the same way as PoE two. The mobs are easy, but once you get to a boss, it is fucking hard. At least that's how my playthrough was in PoE one. Every boss in PoE one was not every boss, but a lot of bosses in PoE one are difficult. But no, I don't think they should nerf the difficulty of the game. I mean, I don't know what to say to people who think PoE two is hard. My advice, if you really think PoE two is very hard, is to either follow a build guide or don't worry about killing what you're trying to kill in that moment. The game doesn't lock you into fighting a boss. 90 and the game is also built like if you fight a boss, if you clear out everything up until the boss, the game is leading you to be uh the right power level. It's not like if you skip over enemies or you skip over certain areas or side quests and then you fight the boss, you're going to be under level. So you should probably do the side quest before you fight the boss because the side quest will greatly reward you a lot. That's PoE has always been that way. Last Epoch was that way too. Like if you didn't do the side quest in Last Epoch, you would be lacking a lot of resources and power. The game, I mean, it's an early access, but game has performance issues as expected. I don't really mind the performance issues. It's not a full release. Even if it was a full release, it is a free game once the full release is out. Full release. So it's like, just take your time fixing it. But this game, another thing, this game has a lot. This early access of PoE 1, PoE 2, I mean, has 6 more classes coming. 12 classes in total. This game has I'm only in Act 2. There's 3 acts. And then there's the end game. This game has more content than Diablo has if you doubled the game. To be honest, if you triple Diablo, you can add however many Diablos you want. PoE 2 still has more content. And the big thing with Diablo is they were trying to convince you longer it's more content. The longer you're playing, the more content you're playing, which is not necessarily true at all. In PoE 2, there's so many monster types with different animations. It's not like you go from a zombie to a skeleton and they have the same animation. No, they die different. Like the skeleton body falls apart to bones. The zombie will fall. They have different hit animations. Everything is like very detailed. And I would stand by this. Like I've always said this when it comes to Diablo 4. It's not what Diablo 4 did, it's what they didn't do. And you can tell by looking at PoE 2 where I know for a fact Diablo had the budget to make a PoE 2 type of content game, or Diablo 4 should be, it could be content rich with the budget they have. It's not a budget issue Diablo has. It's more of a conditioning. They're trying to condition their players to accept Diablo 4, which people didn't fall for in Diablo. Like, I didn't see that many people. People didn't give good reviews on the expansion. They only had one class. Diablo 4 players were very low even before PoE 2 announcement. Because, like, or not PoE 2 announcement, PoE 2 early access. Because no one wants to be conditioned to have a game like Diablo. And then Last Epoch dropped, which and I know for 1,000,000,000%, like Last Epoch doesn't even have probably half of the budget Blizzard has for Diablo, and Last Epoch also proved that it's not about budget. It's that they just didn't want to do it. They were trying to condition people to accept what they were giving. And Last Epoch, I still got high respect for Last Epoch to this day. I kind of wish Last Epoch was bigger. I don't know if they were successful, because I want Last Epoch to get a sequel. Like I hope Last Epoch get a Last Epoch 2. I don't know. Hopefully they can be like bought by somebody like Microsoft. It's not on console, so it's not making that much money. Maybe they could have a console release, but Last Epoch is another game where it's like, it's always about hard work. And that's most of the gaming industry. Like a lot of people like to protect industry games, like developers. Not me. Like most of the time, it just comes down to not wanting to work. Diablo 4. The more you play PoE 2, the more you realize like Diablo 4 just didn't want to do any goddamn thing. One fucking class on an expansion for $40 for the same map that turned green. That's what the expansion of Diablo 4 is. I ain't buying it, but I did watch it. It's nothing but the same map with green all over it and one character. Last Epoch costs $40. A full game costs $40. Diablo is selling a piece of a map and one new character for $40. It's insane. Helldivers costs $40. Elden Ring expansion costs $40. I don't know where Diablo 4 got off thinking it can charge a new area of a map that you can't even access unless you buy it, which is fucking stupid because you're cutting your player base off. Why would you make that's like why would you make an area of the map that players can't access? The story mode I get. The character I get. But that's if my homie bought the expansion and I'm playing with him and he goes across the map, then I can't play it unless I spend $40. It's stupid. It's a bad practice. And that basically is because Diablo, we're trying to convince their players to accept it. So when they do it again, it's normalized. It's not normal. Diablo 4 is not normal. It's not normal. Compared to last Epoch, PoE 2, Diablo should be ashamed themselves. I don't like Diablo. Over the time, like at first I was defending Diablo, but the more you realize, the more you play other games with less budget, the more it's like, why can't you do this? And then you realize when most of anything, if they wanted to, they would, and they can. It's not like if they wanted to, and they can't because of budget reasons. The fucking Blizzard, who charged $70 for Diablo and a $40 expansion, and they already got 100 battle passes. But this came into Diablo rant. But for Path of Exile 2, for 30 hours in, I stand on this. I think Path of Exile 2 is a 10 out of 10 ARPG. It's fucking amazing. It's for all players. All classes are unlocked. You don't even need cosmetics for the game, to be honest. PoE also doesn't lock off content. In PoE Path of Exile 1, they don't lock off content. So if a new content drops, you can always drop in and play it. PoE 1, PoE 2 is a 10 out of 10 ARPG. It's a 10 out of 10 fucking game. It's fucking amazing. And it's an early access. The bar should be raised for ARPGs. And I think PoE 2 is the standard. PoE 2 should 100% be the standard for ARPGs. And that's not saying because it's the standard, because Last Epoch isn't up there with PoE 2 in certain standards. But when you aim for something like PoE 2, you can only achieve something great. That's what people mean. Like when people say Dark Souls, Elden Ring should be the standard for Dark Souls games. They're not saying that a game should be good as Elden Ring. They're saying when you try to make something as good as Elden Ring, you're going to get something amazing. That's how everything works. You're never going to be great as basketball players are never going to be great as Michael Jordan. But when you strive to be Michael Jordan, you get a Kobe. That's how Kobe were made. He was trying to be like Michael Jordan, and then we got Kobe Bryant. That's how gaming should be too. You strive to be Elden Ring, and then you get Eliza P. Michael Jordan, Kobe. Path of Exile 2, Last Epoch. Even though Last Epoch came out first. So, PoE, Last Epoch. Because I do think PoE is better than Last Epoch. But, that's it. Peace. I seen this video, and goodbye.